Good morning, aspirants. Today is 5th of July, and I welcome you all on a series on what to read in the Hindu newspaper. I am Roopam Jha, Senior Mentor at Prepp IAS. So while going through the articles, we will not only see the relevance it has for our prelims perspective, but also mains perspective and interlink it with other GS papers as well. I am here to align your GS reading with the syllabus of UPSC. The quotes that can be put in our essay while presenting an argument with regard to it. So we would be saying every article in a holistic manner. So let's get started. The very first relevant article that should not go out of our attention in today's edition of Hindu newspaper is on editorials page that talks about a crisis of trust. Now, this is relevant for GS paper 2 under polity, electoral reforms and institutions. What could be the possible key themes that can be linked with this particular article is crisis of institutional credibility, impartiality in constitutional bodies. The relevant prelims themes that needs to be brushed up while going through this particular article is Article 324, Power and Tenure of Election Commission, the recent Supreme Court judgment with regard to appointment process that came in March 2023, that needs to be brushed up. For May's perspective, the relevant angles that can be deciphered out from this particular article is analyzing erosion of public trust in independent institutions such as Election Commission, then issues with regard to appointment, post-retirement roles, and political biases. We can even interlink it with other GS papers smartly. For example, we can compare role of election commission, misuse of election commission at times on similar lines with CBI and ED that has been seen in the past. Then in ethics paper, this can be quoted with regard to integrity in public institutions. A very beautiful quote that can be put under the context of important, eminent institutions such as democracy without institutional integrity is mere procedure in nature. So in this manner, this particular article is to be seen holistically, covering all the dimensions of prelims, mains, and other GS papers as well. The other important article that holds relevance is of Bangladesh, a year after Sheikh Hasina ouster. Important for GS paper 2, international relations, under India-Bangladesh relationship, and also neighborhood first policy. The key theme that can be quoted from here is strategic recalibration in post-regime changes in a key neighborhood. For prelims perspective, the areas that should be opened up while reading this particular article is Bangladesh border sharing Indian states, then strategic rivers and the disputes that is there between India and Bangladesh, such as Tista River dispute, Ganga, Feni rivers. For mains perspective, this can be seen from the lens of evaluating diplomatic depth beyond personalities. Till the time Sheikh Hasina is there, India and Bangladesh shared good relationship. When she is not there, how the recalibration would be done. Then the next important angle that can be useful for our mains perspective is implication of sharing political dynamics on regional security, trade, and connectivity projects as well. Other linked areas or GS papers that can be seen from this particular article is under the GS paper 3, border management and the issues that arises out because of that, as India and Bangladesh has porous border. Then GS paper 2, Indo-Pacific region, other multilateral forum or regional forum that we have developed with Bangladesh, such as BIMSTEC, BBIN corridors, and it could also be quoted as gateway to East Asian countries. the railway lines, the dams that we are constructing, the nuclear power project or thermal power plants, infrastructure projects that we are constructing in Bangladesh, the rising influence of China in the region. All these dimensions can be seen from this particular article. The next important article that is relevant to read from today's Hindu newspaper is the missing link in India's e-waste management. Relevant for GS paper 3, Environment, Science and Tech and Waste Management. The key theme here is circular economy gap in e-mobility and battery management. For prelims perspective, we need to know about the Battery Waste Management Rules 2022. What is EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility? For mains, we need to know the gaps in India's recycling infrastructure, not only from battery waste management, but e-waste management, solid waste management. The policies are being made, but are we doing enough to implement it on ground with regard to infrastructure, manpower creation, right? Then other important areas that has an interlinking relevance to it. The critical minerals that are being used to create batteries, such as lithium, cobalt, are we self-sufficient on it or we are dependent on it? The states that produce them, and also the economics of it. Importance of battery tracking systems. These are the things that we have to keep in mind while going through this particular articles. Other linkages with other GS papers as well, this can be linked with. For instance, under GS paper 3, Clean Energy Mission. FAME 2, paper 4 for ethics, we can link up with environmental stewardship. We can even put an argument while writing in essay paper by putting a context to it in life cycle approach in policy implementation. So this is how this particular article is to be seen for UPSC perspective, linking several dimensions to it and making the best use of the matter under our several papers. The next important article that is worth our attention is about why a progressive Indian policy on Myanmar is more than plausible. Relevant for GS paper 2, IR. Under India-Myanmar relationship, Act East policy, and the security challenges and issue that we are facing. Key theme is balancing realism with humanitarian concern in Myanmar policy. For prelims perspective, the areas that we have to keep in mind while going through this particular article is Myanmar bordering state, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, right? So in these states, we are facing an influx of refugee, the tribal refugee, such as Chin, Kuki. So what are the impact of it? This can be linked for mains. While the infrastructure project that we are creating, the river route, the land route, and other infrastructures, Kaladan multi-model projects. So knowing about it, the facts and the data is related to it. For mains perspective, then cross-border ethnic ties and insurgency impact that we are facing because of the refugee crisis from Bangladesh. Then dilemma of engaging with Janta and supporting democracy. Other GS paper that can be linked from this particular article is GS paper 3, internal security, under Northeast insurgency and border challenges. For ethics paper, this can be quoted by putting a context in ethical foreign policy approach. Also, by putting an argument for our essay paper under the context of peaceful neighborhoods are not born. They are nurtured with realism and resolve. Case in point, India, Bangladesh, and India, Myanmar. At the time of crisis that they are into right now, the turmoil that we are facing, how well we nurture our relationship with them through these time of crisis. Right. The next and the last important article for the day is on last page of the Hindu editorial under the theme Science. So this is relevant for GS paper 3, Science and Tech and Emerging Technologies. What is the key theme here? Bridging cryptography randomness with trust and blockchain using quantum principles. For prelims perspective, the dimensions that we have to keep in mind is basics of blockchain, quantum entanglement and cryptography. For mains perspective, the implication of quantum key distribution, tech sovereignty in next generation cryptography. This can even be linked with other GS papers as well for internal security under the theme cybersecurity, cryptographic integrity. Under governance, grassroots governance and decentralized approach can help us in curbing corruption and resolving public faith and trust, increase transparency. For ethics, this can even be quoted as an example of rising role of tech in promoting trust and transparency. Right. So these are the areas that needs to be seen and understood while reading this particular article. So this is all for today's Hindu editorials approach. Till we meet for the next time, stay tuned and goodbye.